HS English 2024, very short questions, important question and answers from English prose poetry and one act drama for Bengali medium students. প্রথম হচ্ছে দি আইজ হ্যাবিট থেকে where was the narrator going? The narrator was going to Dehra. Where did the girl board the train? The girl boarded the train at Rohana. What was the narrator's destination? The narrator was going to Mussoorie. Up to which station did the narrator travel alone in the train? The narrator travelled alone till Rohana. Have you noticed? I ventured. Who is the speaker here? The speaker is the narrator of the piece, of the prose piece. She was silent. When was the girl silent? The girl was silent when the narrator was talking of the fascinating natural beauty of Mussoorie in October. You have an interesting face, I remarked. How did the listener react? The listener was happy but didn't get flattered. What was the nature of the girl's hair? The narrator was not sure. The perfume from her hair was very tantalizing. What did the narrator want to do? The narrator wanted to raise her hand and touch her hair. What does the pretension of the blind character as sighted persons indicate? The pretension of the blind characters as sighted ones indicates their psychological complex. The man who had entered the compartment broke into my reverie. Which reverie is mentioned here? Here the reverie refers to the anticipations regarding what was happening outside the train compartment. How does the narrator attempt to strike up a conversation with the girl? The narrator asks her where she is going. ঠিক আছে, তারপরে কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে দেন আই মেড এ মিস্টেক. হুইচ মিস্টেক ডিড দ্য narrator make? The narrator made a mistake by asking the girl what it looked like outside. Her next question removed my doubts. What was the next question? Her next question was why the narrator didn't look outside the window. The eyes habit হয়ে গেল. এবার আরও কোশ্চেন তোমরা যেটা ভালো বুঝবে সেগুলো অবশ্যই আইজ হ্যাবিট থেকে করবে. আমি মোটামুটি যেগুলো খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ সেগুলো তোমাদেরকে কোশ্চেনের সঙ্গে অ্যান্সারটাও বলে যাচ্ছি. তোমরা রেকর্ডটা বারবার শুনবে, উপকৃত হবে. এবার স্ট্রং রুট থেকে আমি কয়েকটা কোশ্চেন বলছি. হোয়ার ফ্রম হ্যাজ দিস এসে স্ট্রং রুটস বিন এক্সট্র্যাক্টেড? দ্য এসে is an extract of the last chapter of Wings of Fire. To which genre does the essay Strong Root belong? This essay is an example of autobiography. Why is Rameswaram famous? Rameswaram is famous for the Shiva temple. How did Zainul Abidin begin his day? Zainul Abidin began his day by reading namaz. Who was Lakshmana Sastri? Lakshmana Sastri was the high priest of the Rameswaram temple. I asked my father about the relevance of prayer. What did the father of Kalam say? Kalam's father said that there was nothing mysterious about prayer. What does Zainul Abidin say about adversity? Zainul Abidin says that adversity is always present opportunities for introspection. আচ্ছা, তারপরে দেখো, how was Jainul Abidin by nature? Jainul Abidin was very peace loving and generous by nature. Where did Kalam live? Kalam lived in his ancestral house. When was the ancestral house of Kalam built? The ancestral house of Kalam was built in the middle of the 19th century. How did Kalam spend his childhood? Kalam spent his childhood experiencing neither emotional bereavement nor economic strains. How far was the Shiva temple from Kalam's house? The Shiva temple was about a 10 minutes walk from Kalam's house. স্ট্রং রুট থেকে আর যেগুলো ভালো মনে হবে তোমাদের, তোমরা অবশ্যই সেগুলো করবে। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম থেকে আমি কয়েকটা কোশ্চেন বলে যাচ্ছি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ, হ্যাঁ তোমরা শুনবে, অ্যান্সারও বলে যাচ্ছি ভেরি শর্ট কোশ্চেনের। একটু ওয়েট করো, আমি বলছি তোমাদেরকে, জাস্ট এ মিনিট, একটু সময় দাও, একটু ধৈর্য ধরতে হবে। হ্যাঁ, আমি বলছি তোমাদেরকে, তোমরা একটু শুনে নেবে। আচ্ছা, who is the writer of the short story Thank You Ma'am? The short story Thank You Ma'am is written by Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes. Who tried to snatch away the purse of Mrs. Washington Jones? Roger, a boy of either 14 or 15, tried to snatch away the purse of Mrs. Washington Jones. Okay, তারপরে কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে, where did the purse drop after the boy tried to snatch it away? The purse dropped on the sidewalk. How did Mrs. Washington Jones look? Mrs. Washington Jones looked large. Give an instance of Mrs. Washington Jones' physical prowess. The way Mrs. Washington Jones put a half Nelson about Roger's neck and dragged him along the street reveals her physical prowess. Why did Roger actually want to snatch away the purse of Mrs. Washington Jones? Roger wanted to snatch away the purse to buy a pair of blue suede shoes. He could run. Why did not Roger run? Roger underwent a sea change by the kind treatment of Mrs. Jones and decided not to run away. ঠিক আছে। What did the icebox contain? The icebox contained lima beans and ham. What sort of work did Mrs. Jones do? Mrs. Jones worked in a beauty shop in a hotel. Who visited the beauty shop? All kinds of women, blondes, redheads, and Spanish used to visit the beauty shop. What did Mrs. Jones advise Roger repeatedly? Mrs. Jones advised Roger repeatedly not to pickpocket again and to behave well. ঠিক আছে, এবার তোমাদেরকে আমি 3 কোশ্চেন্স থেকে কয়েকটা শর্ট কোশ্চেনের অ্যান্সার বলে দিচ্ছি, তোমরা রেকর্ডটা শুনবে মাঝে মাঝে। Who is the writer of the story? 3 questions. The writer of the story, 3 questions, is Leo Tolstoy. তারপরে এসো, what was the hermit's answer to the first question of the jar? To the first question of the jar, the hermit's answer was the most important time is the now. Who is a jar? A Tsar is a Russian king. Who was the hermit? The hermit was a well-known wise hermit who lived in a wood. Where did the hermit live? The hermit lived in a wood. What was the second question of the Tsar? The Tsar's second question was, who were the best people to work with? What was the first question of the Tsar? The Tsar's first question was, what was the best time to do each thing? What does the hermit's constant work indicate? The hermit's constant work indicates that man's life is meant for constant work and not whiling away time. Do you support the hermit's way of answering? The hermit rightly answered the Tsar indirectly because examples are always better than precepts. Precepts. Who was the wounded man? The wounded man was the enemy of the Tsar. Who are warriors? Warriors are soldiers. Why was the hermit famous? The hermit was famous for his wisdom. What was the hermit doing when the Tsar approached him? When the Tsar approached him, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his heart. ঠিক আছে? How did the hermit receive the Tsar? The hermit greeted the Tsar and resumed his work of digging. Who wounded the bearded man? The guard of the Tsar wounded the bearded man. How did the Tsar behave with the wounded man? The Tsar treated the wounded man with great care, bandaged his wound again and again until the blood stopped flowing. এবার চলে এসো কবিতার অন কিলিং এ ট্রি থেকে বলছি কয়েকটা কোশ্চেন। How much time does it take to kill a tree? It takes much time to kill a tree. The bleeding bark will heal. How does a bleeding bark heal up? A bleeding bark heals up as curled green twigs rise from the tree trunk that is close to the ground. Feeding upon its crust. What does a tree feed? A tree feeds sunlight, air and water. On what tone does the poem end? The poem ends on a tone of tragedy, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust. What is meant by crust? Crust means the top layer of the earth. And then it is done. What does the expression suggest? The expression suggests the completion of the act of killing a tree. Not so much pain will do it. What does this line mean? This line means that the infliction of pain on the trees through hacking and chopping would not kill the tree completely. Out of the anchoring earth, what metaphor is hidden in this line? As the boat is anchored in the river bed, so also a tree anchors its roots in the earth. Browning, hardening, twisting, whitening, withering. ঠিক আছে? Why is the tree trunk hardened? The tree trunk is hardened to use it for furniture. and the strength of the tree exposed. What note of tragedy is struck in the line? The roots, the strength of a tree are to be entirely put out of the earth cave to ensure its destruction. The source, white and wet. Why is the source described as wet? The source is described as wet because the roots lie deep in the earth for sucking water. The most sensitive, hidden for years inside the earth. What are called sensitive? The roots of the tree are called sensitive. Then the matter of scorching and choking. Why is the tree trunk scorched and choked? The tree trunk is scorched and choked to kill the tree completely and to dry the log for future use. ঠিক আছে, এবার চলে এসো অ্যাসলিপ ইন দ্য ভ্যালি থেকে শর্ট কোশ্চেন কয়েকটার উত্তর আমি বলছি। Who is the composer of the poem Asleep in the Valley? The composer of the poem Asleep in the Valley is Arthur Rimbaud. বানানটা এইভাবে করলে তুমি বানান লিখতে ভুল করবে না। RIMBAUD ARTHUR আর্থার RIMBAUD রিবা। ঠিক আছে, আর্থার রিবা। Who dies in the battlefield? A young soldier dies in the battlefield. Where are the soldiers' feet lying? The soldiers' feet are lying among the flowers. What seems to be the nature of the young soldier? The young soldier seems to be an innocent, gentle boy. He sleeps in sunlight, one hand on his breast, at peace. Why does the soldier lie in peace? The soldier lies in peace as he has no more tension of the war zone, and no force in the world can worry him now. ঠিক আছে, nature keep him warm, he may catch cold. What does the poet ask nature to do? The poet asks nature to keep the soldier warm, lest he should catch cold. What is a slow river? A slow river is that which flows slowly. In what place is the young soldier lying? The young soldier is lying in a valley. His smile is like an infant's. Whose smile is compared to the smile of an infant? The smile of a young soldier is compared to the smile of an infant.